Welcome to the So Much More podcast, where we talk with people in the custom window treatment, soft home furnishings industry, and so much more. I'm your host, Ciel DeGuglielmo. Marta Powers is the owner of Marta Pow LLC, a custom workroom in Richmond, Virginia, offering upholstery and soft goods services nationally to the trade. Her past career as a project manager for architecture and design firms has informed her business processes and broadened her network of professionals across the hospitality and interior design sectors. Marta's early training in tailoring, pattern drafting, clothing design, and fabrication skills led to her creation of a business serving designers, helping them to achieve their and their clients' visions. A co-owner of Upholstery Education, LLC, Marta and her partners bring education from the UK and France to the US, offering courses in traditional upholstery methods, materials, and related interior furnishings trades. I'll put a link to the interview that I did with Marta and the other owners of Upholstery Education in the show notes. Marta has served on the boards of the National Upholstery Association and the Virginia chapter of the American Society of Interior Designers as an industry partner. She is also a member of IFDA Richmond, the Seat Weavers Guild, and the NUA's Education Committee. And I will put a link to Marta's Instagram account in the show notes, even though she's not a big fan of social media, and we'll talk a little bit about that during the podcast. I really hope you enjoy hearing from Marta today. Marta, it's so nice to see you again, and thank you for saying yes to being on the podcast by yourself.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm just so flattered and grateful and excited to be here with you. I love your podcast.
I'm excited too, Marta, and when I was interviewing you and Mandy and Justin for the Upholstery Education podcast, I realized that I had not had a one-on-one conversation with you, and our journeys are all so different. We have so much in common, but there's so many differences that I love hearing how people got to into this business and into these industries. So if you could just take a moment, introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your business.
Sure. My name is Marta Powers, and I live and work in the Richmond, Virginia area. Marta Pow LLC is the name of my workroom, and we work to the trade, mostly in hospitality and commercial worlds, and almost exclusively through interior designers and procurement companies.
Okay.
So we started out as a sewing workroom primarily for soft furnishings, and now we've expanded into upholstery, and we're split kind of 50-50 between those two worlds.
Okay. And how did you learn these skills?
I come from a big family of like so many other people, and I wanted clothes. And
Same, Marta, same.
So my initial training is in high school. I was very lucky that my best friend's mother was French, and she was a professional seamstress.
Okay.
And she took me under her wing, and I learned more sweeping her workroom floors than I did anywhere else.
Mm-hmm.
And she actually taught me how she ran her business more than the sewing side of things. She showed me how she managed her client information. Every client had a book. Every book had everything that person had ever ordered, what their dimensions were, what their preferences were. Everything was updated in those books. And that really just kind of made me think like, oh, this is how you keep track of everything. Mm-hmm. In high school and then in college, my track was engineering. And I went to college, and for 3 years, I studied to be a chemical engineer before I realized that this is not the path for me. Mm-hmm. And I switched over to tailoring and pattern making and dressmaking. And so that's where I really started my real training in hands-on. I'd always been sewing,
Mhm.
but to be able to do pattern drafting and all of the technical side was not really that big of a leap from engineering to
Okay.
move into that drafting world, because you're still turning two-dimensional things into three-dimensional objects. And I honestly think a lot of people coming to it later in life, if they've had that kind of three-dimensional playtime
Right.
or work, that it comes a lot more easily.
Okay.
So designing and drafting patterns was much more my comfort level and skill set.
Okay. Marta, I'm fascinated because so many of us learned from someone else, whether it was a mother, a grandmother, an aunt. And there have been very few times that anyone has said anything about learning the running of the
Yeah,
business part of it. And I'm just thinking, what a remarkable gift that was for
yeah.
you.
She was incredible. She even pulled me aside before I went to college to tell me that I was making a mistake. I mean, and she was right. Like, she knew me better
Hmm.
than other people, that, this was not going to, not that it wasn't going to end well, but that I wasn't going to be happy.
Right.
Not that I didn't have, and I know that I'm really lucky to have the skill sets for both sides of that coin, right? That yeah, I can do all of the creative, out of the box thinking stuff, but the other side of my brain really craves that order and
Right.
predictability and control. And so that led to my having, in the, if you can imagine, in the early 90s in Richmond, Virginia, downtown, I had a dress shop when I had no business doing anything like that. And but what my focus, and back then in Richmond, there really was nowhere to go to buy clothing, right?
Mhm.
We were still kind of this southern city stuck in old school, and nothing new had really come in, and the culture was changing. But my focus for my dressmaking was really to do custom work for people that couldn't find things anywhere else. And everybody has something in their closet that they absolutely and completely love, and they can't part with it, even though it doesn't fit anymore, or it's not in style,
Right.
but they just feel really good when they wear that,
Mhm.
right? And so I would help people figure out what that was, whether that was like, is that the cut of the bodice, or is it the way it hangs on your hips, or the length of the pants? What is it specifically about that? And then we can turn that into a lot of other pieces in your wardrobe for you.
Okay.
And I'd also make things for people that couldn't find anything for their particular situation, whether that was because of their body size,
Right.
or their, I hate to call it a disability, but a different ability.
Right. Right. Right.
Like, I had one woman who was a client who, she was a professional attorney, and she needed custom clothing. She needed suits and things like
Mhm.
that. But at some point in her life, something terrible had happened to her, and one arm was shorter than the other, and her rib cage was, not symmetric. And
Okay.
so we were able to create things that looked normal, to
Right.
an eye. They didn't look like something that she had bought and then tried to alter to make it fit her right. We
Right.
were able to accommodate those things and make everything look right. Or we had one instance of a woman who was very heavy, and she wanted the wedding dress. She wanted the wedding dress that she wanted when she was a little girl, and she wasn't able to find that in retail stores where she was looking. And so she and I were able to work together to make that dream come true for her. And that's really what floats my boat, is like having a design challenge, an engineering challenge,
Yeah.
and figure out, how can we make this work for you? How can we get your vision put together?
What I find fascinating is for people who have done garment sewing, especially someone who did it for clients like you, is that there is so much problem solving required. And when I did the little bit of wedding related work that I did, and I did bridal
Ugh,
headpieces, I'm not a good, and see, my reaction to like bridal gowns and alterations and custom clothing is I don't know enough about what I'm doing. But brides' heads did not change sizes, and their mothers didn't have their mothers hadn't traumatized them about their weight their whole lives,
exactly.
not when it came to their heads. So I could make bridal headpieces, but it is I just came from the Slipcover Summit at Workroom Tech this weekend, and that was one of the things that we talked about was, there wasn't a lot of pre-planning that was done. We used chairs that were in the inn that we were staying in. One instructor did bring her own chair with her, but the fact of the matter is it's problem solving,
Mhm.
and piece after piece. Well, I got to this point and I realized this, so therefore I'm doing this. Or now I have the option, I can do this or this. It's a design decision, I'm doing
Right.
this. And I think in soft furnishings and upholstery, it really does come down to problem solving first, working with our clients, whether they
Mhm.
are designers or retail clients, and having enough knowledge to know what options that we're sharing with them, but also being able to pivot and say, that is not going to work the way I expected it to, and still be professional,
Right.
because that is part of the process, whether someone understands that or not.
Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. And ultimately, your point about uh, client personalities. That's what
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
that's what I realized I didn't ultimately have the temperament for that. And,
Okay.
and after a couple of years and after my daughter was born, I realized I needed to it was taking a lot of the joy away for me of creation. And so I that's when I switched over to start doing soft furnishings because no one
Okay.
can argue about the dimensions of a sofa,
Right.
right? Whereas we can argue for 1,000 years about how wide are your hips. It's like,
Yes.
and it to me, it doesn't matter. It is what it is. But people
Right.
are just so much more emotionally involved when it comes
Right.
to themselves. And I realized I didn't have that temperament to
Okay.
or patience to help with that. But I didn't want to give up what I love to do. And
Okay.
so that's when I started to make that switch from clothing to soft furnishings, and from soft furnishings ultimately started doing upholstery as well.
Okay. Did you do it gradually or all at once, or how did you make the switch?
Very gradually. After my daughter was born, like so many other people, I needed the assurance of a steady paycheck, and so that's when I
Hmm.
went back and leveraged my engineering and uh, that aptitude in my brain, and I got a job at working for a very large corporate credit card company here in our area, and had a great career with them for about 10 years, and was how learned even more about project management, and
Hmm.
working as a liaison between people who are more on the sales side and are more people oriented, and people who are on the technical side, and being able to speak both of those languages put me
Hmm.
in a good position to serve as a liaison, if you will, for those two worlds, and
Okay.
help them to understand each other's needs and how to get them met. So that was a great career. I'm incredibly grateful to that company. But ultimately, as my daughter was getting older, I needed to be closer to home. And so
Okay.
I switched over to work for a closer to home architecture firm here in the
Hmm.
city. and they used me again as a project manager and as their bookkeeper and office manager. And that was great to be able to learn about how to run projects that use the same tools, but have very different personalities involved in them and very different materials again. So that small firm in time got bought by a larger firm, and that is when, and all this, and at the same time, this whole time I'm still doing a side hustle, right? Like getting up in the morning and working on slip covers and then going to work and picking up from school and then just because when you're a single mom, that's what you do. You're just always hustling. And again, like you were saying, not really running it as a business, because in the beginning we're just running it for the cash.
Right.
You're like, wow, this is great. A couple extra $100 this month. That'll put us someplace that we want to go.
Right.
So when we moved over to this larger architecture and engineering firm, and that firm has a very large hospitality division. And when they found out what I could do, to them, that was just a gift, because to any designer, finding a fabricator that they can rely on and communicate with is just a gift, right?
Yes.
It helps them create their clients' visions. Instead of being able to design a room and say, oh, it would be great if you had some pillows in this fabric, but I have no idea where you're going to get that. Here's the fabric. Here's the size that I think would look really great in this room, but I can't help you beyond that.
Yeah. I can't make that happen.
Right. So to be able to have me right there, on staff doing double duty, walking them through those projects, and then having my name given to their procurement agents or their clients to start getting that kind of work done. That's when I feel like things really clicked, because then I already had a business license, but I had to start doing things like make myself an LLC, make sure I was doing taxes accordingly, like sales tax, and making sure that I had liability insurance, because if you're working for Marriott, you have to carry a certain amount of liability insurance. So that's where I feel like things really just took a big turn in my head, to say like, no, you're running a business now. You're not just making some side money on a hustle.
Right.
So that went really well. And ultimately, I was able to start reducing my hours at the firm more and more, and increasing my hours in the workroom more and more. And so I want to say maybe around 2011 is when all that started happening. So by the time the pandemic came around and we had to stop going to the office, and my business was going so well, that was the right time to just say, you know what, I'm ready to step away from this.
Okay.
I had more security in business than I did in the architecture firm at that point.
Okay. Marta, I'm really curious about going into, commercial and hospitality. It's a very different experience than I'd like these 3 pillows for my client's sofa. We're talking larger quantities, larger pieces, and all of that. And I'm curious about where were you working and how were you able to produce? I'm assuming you were doing multiples of some things because of them being for hospitality. And I'm thinking not little numbers, like big numbers. How did you manage that?
It was interesting.
That's such a good word, isn't it?
Because I was working in our basement, and ultimately all the furniture got moved out of the dining room. I mean, sometimes we would just have literally a dining room filled with giant cardboard boxes, because I'd be ordering the forms from North Carolina, and we'd get home from work and they'd just be piles and piles of boxes on the front porch.
Oh my
And we'd
goodness.
have to just kind of keep shuffling things around in this house that, is 120 years old with little narrow staircases and stuff. But, you just make it work. You're like, you just get it done. And um, in hindsight, I don't know. Ultimately, in 2000, no, in 2020, just before the pandemic started, we did get a job that was too big for the workroom. So first I started in the basement, then that started oozing into the rest of the house. There was a garage at that house, and so we had converted the garage, but it still wasn't a whole lot bigger than this
Right.
room. But it did let me, it was like one sofa would have been big in that garage building. Anyway, we got a local upholstery job that was really large. It was the architecture firm moving to a new space, and they needed me to reupholster everything that was in the business. And we were talking, hundreds of desk chairs, all of the furniture in the public spaces, stuff like that. So at that point we knew, and by now I've been married since then. And so we knew I was going to need a bigger space, whether that was for just this job or to grow the business. So we started talking about, does that mean buying a commercial space or renting a commercial space or moving to a bigger house or all these different things? And all of that coincided with my mom, who lived around the corner from us, and she's in her 90s and she's aging in place. But thinking we should all be together. This is becoming stressful to have her alone around the corner. And so we just started putting out feelers for something new. And just outside of the city, some friends of ours said something was coming open. And so then the pandemic hit. And we thought this is either the smartest or the stupidest thing anyone could possibly do. But we were able to actually, and the business was able to do this, which I just think is amazing. And that is a huge shout out to one of my favorite books, which is one of your questions that's coming up. But the business was able to buy this property, and it was a house that we were able to renovate very quickly to be our step down house and ADA for my mother so that she could live with us. And it has an outbuilding on the property that's bigger than the house that I was living in downtown for 30 years.
Oh my goodness.
So we got this. So that was really the thing that we were like, that's done. I don't know if we want to live in this house, but we've got the workspace that we need. It's
we like the outbuilding.
1,200 square feet, and it had already been finished by the gentleman who was the previous owner, and he had used it as a workroom, and it was just ready to go for us. It was perfect, clean, everything. And it's a couple of acres of woods. It's actually in the national park outside of the city. And so it is dramatically different from where we've been living for the past 30 years. It's so quiet and it's so dark. And there's more animals than there are humans out here on any given day. And I just really love it. I loved living downtown, but I didn't realize that even if you love it, it's stressful to be down there. And so that's where we are now. And over the past 7 years, I've been able to train up two of my brothers in the area, because I always needed an extra pair of hands, and they were very generous to be those extra pair of hands. And ultimately, as this business has grown, they've both been able to leave their jobs and come and work here full time. And so now it's the three of us, and it's just really great. Who knew that this was, who knew, right? Like, that this could be a thing, that pillows could be a thing. I always say pillows pay salaries. Upholstery is great.
Yes.
Pillows are gravy.
I love that. Pillows pay
They do.
salaries.
They smooth that fishtailing of income,
Mhm.
because like you say, those are really big jobs. I think last year we made 4,500 pillows.
Holy
It
cow.
was really, really big year for us. I think that was 5 different Marriotts across the country that were really big projects.
Wow. And I'm curious because I'm sure there are people who are thinking, all right, how can I do
Right,
work
right.
like
How can
that?
I get a piece
But
of it?
but
Yeah. There's
how are I mean, I know you're working still with this architectural firm. You still have a connection with them, is that
I
correct?
do, but so what happens is the way that process goes, and I would love to just tell everybody this, like this is everybody needs to know this, right? And that you've heard me before about being on my interior designer soapbox.
Mhm.
Everybody needs to work with interior designers. Um, that's what I say. Anyway, when interior designers or architects create their designs for their client, there's a third party, and that third party is a procurement company that is working for the client, right? They take the design that the architect or the interior designer make, and it's their job to get everything, to buy everything in that design and get it into place, whether that is headboards or rugs or paint colors or, people putting in the flooring or people making the pillows for them.
Mhm.
And those procurement companies desperately need manufacturers. They need names, they need relationships. And so, as soon as
Okay.
you make a relationship on that first order and you're easy to work with and you understand what it is they need, then you are in their books. And, and so they start calling, not just for
Mhm.
the job that you were just told, like, I want you to hire Marta for that job, but if they have
Right.
another job that has pillows that doesn't have a manufacturer named on it, they'll call you and say, can you help me with this project too? So it
Okay.
just exponentially started to grow that way, building those relationships with the procurement companies. Um, and ultimately, Marriott, the first jobs that I did with Marriott were through procurement companies. But ultimately,
Okay.
Marriott has inside procurement divisions as well.
Okay.
And so they
Okay.
reached out to me and asked if I would jump through their hoops and fill out their paperwork and become one of their approved suppliers. So now the
Okay.
Marriott procurement division calls me directly for a lot of
Okay.
projects that they have because they're getting design packages from all kinds of people, right?
Right, right.
And so I if someone were to say, how do you get in there? I have no idea other than to just start calling and asking, like, how can I
Right.
do that? And I have to say that having been the project manager and office manager for the smaller architecture firm really opened my eyes to how do you run a small business, which is really important.
Mhm.
So I am SWAM certified in the state of Virginia, which means that gives me a little bit of leverage for getting state jobs or municipal jobs because
Right.
some municipalities, some states have mandates that say um, a certain percentage of your project needs to go to, I, I don't know if this is all true anymore, but
I was just thinking that in my head.
it's the way it's supposed to work. But anyway, I am
Yes.
SWAM certified, and companies like hiring somebody. They like hiring somebody that they know that is, quote, disadvantaged or that they're able to help lift up.
Right.
And so that has really helped as well. And one of my true superpowers, it's most people's kryptonite, but my superpower is filling out forms. I'm really
Now I know who to go to, Marta.
I'm really good at it. I love doing my taxes. And and that's what it takes, is getting that documentation taken care of, getting those forms filled out, getting your liability insurance lined up, and having all of that organized so that when you get that call and somebody says, hey, can you do this for me, but this is what we need, and it's easy to say, yeah, I
Right.
can send you those documents right now and show you all of my liability insurance, all of my everything you
Yeah.
need, that we can get this done for you.
Well, I find it interesting, Marta, and I have a couple of questions about that. But one of the things is, as a small business, I did not start things out the way I should have. And it didn't take me long to figure out that not having business insurance was not a wise move. I was fortunate enough that the incident that made me realize how much I needed it did not cost me any money. I was measuring something. I had a long metal, my metal tape out. It bent and knocked over a piece of sculpture that did not break. And all I could think of was if that had broken, I'd lose my house.
Right.
And I went home that day and got insurance. And I remember seeing a post years ago. A woman was in an accident on her way to install at a job.
Oh,
And every window treatment that was in her vehicle was destroyed.
oh my God.
Who pays for that? Well, if
Right.
you don't have insurance, you do.
Right.
And those were things like for the amount of money it cost me per month, the peace of mind was worth every penny of it.
Absolutely. Yep.
But so yes, if you are doing anything with the government, if you are doing anything with larger firms, they do have requirements, but most of them are not outrageous
Mm-mm.
and things you shouldn't already
Right.
have. Okay. Okay.
Right.
That's what
I
I
mean, it
thought.
was just like the limit might be a little bit higher, but
Right.
it's not that significant of a change. And it you're right. It was the thing that was like, yeah, I should have this anyway, you
Right.
know?
And I do recall a time I was going to be installing in a high rise in New York City, and I needed some, um, what are they, not an addendum, but
A writer.
a rider. Thank you. That's the word I couldn't think of. I just added a rider to my insurance for like a
For
week
that
or
one
a
job.
month or
Yep.
whatever it was, because I do not normally install in high rises,
Right.
but sprinkler systems and all kinds of other things. The potential for something going wrong is not worth me losing weeks of sleep as opposed to just the night before an install where I install all night long in my head. But it's not worth it.
Right.
So again, if you're going to venture into an area like this, having these things in place is really just good business sense to begin with, but they are things you need to have before you could actually
Right.
work with some of these people. Okay. So I'm thinking hospitality and commercial, and I'm thinking of Marriott, and there are probably thousands of Marriotts. And so when you get an order from them, what kind of numbers are we talking about? And like, are we talking about 700 headboards? Are we talking about 10,000 pillows? Like, what do those
Yeah.
orders look
Yeah.
like?
I would say the biggest orders I get are maybe for like 300, 350 at a time. There
Okay.
is one Marriott, I think it's a new construction, and it's up on Long Island, and they're on their third order of 350 pillows. So that's 1,000 pillows in that.
In one
Yeah.
place.
So if you think about, I mean, then that's one thing. So the way that, there's a million different kinds of Marriotts or Hyatts, or, they all have their levels of
Right.
like
Some are
Super
boutique,
8
and
or
you're not going to be
Westin,
making
right?
350. Right,
And
right.
most of them are franchises, and those, depending on what the brand within the bigger company is, part of those
Mhm.
franchise contracts are all like, you must renovate or upgrade within 5 years or 7 years or 10
Okay.
years, to prevent anybody who is the franchise operator from letting the brand become too shabby looking, right?
Gotcha. Okay, that makes
Yeah.
sense.
And so then it becomes a little bit more, uh I don't know what the word would be for it, but like, how do you get in with the right level,
Yeah. Yes.
because
Yes.
then you're talking about fighting over making an $18 pillow versus a $60 pillow. Which one do you want
Right.
to be making? It's the same effort, it's the
Right.
same amount of time.
Right. Right. That's not a trick question. We all know the answer to that one.
But it is, because you still have to do the math, because it might be
Yep.
volume, right?
Yes.
You might be getting 400 of the lower cost pillows and only 30 of the higher cost pillows. Yeah, so you really do have to kind of sift through those.
Mhm.
And again, that's one point where my like love for data and forms comes in, because
Yeah.
I've got this data that I've accumulated over the years, and I can look at
Right.
it and kind of figure out which jobs are the ones that are most profitable. Which ones do we
Okay.
want to say we're going to have to take a pass on that, or we'll do this when we don't have anything else to do? It just really
Yeah.
helps to know what that effort and return is for each product type,
Absolutely.
to know when to say no and when to say yes. you
Okay.
know
Are the deadlines different for these type of jobs,
they're much
Marta?
longer, so that really,
Oh,
really helps.
really?
Yeah.
Okay. I was thinking like, and can you have these for me tomorrow?
No, no, because one procurement agent, I'm so grateful for her to say this. She said, if a hotel doesn't open because it doesn't have throw pillows,
They've got
like,
bigger
you are
problems, right?
not the linchpin for this,
Right.
for the success of this operation. Like, and she meant that with all kindness, just to help me like
Yes.
not be so anxious about it.
Right.
But there's, you know, when you put your quote together, they want you to tell them your lead time. So having a
Okay.
really clear knowledge for yourself of what that should be. And that's, I think, one
Okay.
thing, especially when we all started, we were really eager to overpromise. And
Mhm.
early on, I thought to myself, I really love doing this, but this is really stressful. What's the number one thing that stresses me out? And that is
Right.
the deadlines. And then it occurred to me,
Okay.
like, well, I'm the one that is promising the delivery date. Why am I doing that to myself? Why am I saying, of course I can get that done in 1 week, if it's the only thing I'm doing this week, which is
Right.
never going to happen. Right.
Thank you, which is never the
Right.
right never the accurate information.
Right. So instead of saying, how fast could I get it done? It's, when can I get it done? And so I've learned to just kind of put on at least, a 6 week lead time. And so
Okay.
sometimes that usually means that they will get you everything you need within like that 6 to 8 weeks of when they need it. It helps them with their
Okay.
project management. If you can
Okay.
better estimate when do you, how much time do you need? Because then they can say, well, I need it here on December 1st, so that means I need to get you everything before September 15th. and
Right. Right.
and that really helps.
Marta, I think there are a whole lot of people who needed to hear what you just said because I have had conversations with workrooms where people are saying, well, this is a new build and I want everything finished by the time we make settlement for a single home, not
Uh-huh.
for a hotel. And yes, I understand the especially for designers and architectural firms, the details of a single pillow are minute compared to all of the details that they have to work with. But that's not to be dismissive of our part in that.
No.
But if that single pillow is all we're contributing to that job, then we've got other jobs that we're working on.
Mm-hmm.
And if we're saying, sure, I can have that to you in 2 days, that's with nothing else going
Right.
on. And I really love that you said that you were the one determining the time frame and that you were the one who changed it because I think so many of us still are so willing to please and so much wanting to get an answer that will make somebody happy that we're not thinking about the fact that it's really not realistic. It's causing us stress that we don't need
Yeah.
and keeping us awake at night when God knows we need our
Right.
sleep.
I think i think we do all have we do all, we are all really eager to please. But I think
Yes.
that the thing that really pleases my designers and the people that I've developed relationships with is having the assurance that I am self-assured. Like I know
Hmm.
this is how much time I need to get this done.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and if I have that self-awareness and I have that projection planning on my workroom calendar, that and I have a couple of different tools that I use to decide, can I fit that in for you? You know, are we going to
Hmm.
have a lull on a day or something like that? But but being able to think ahead like that has really improved my work game also. Instead of just what do we need to do today? You know, I'm
Okay.
thinking, well, actually, we said we were going to deliver this next Friday. So what do we need to do before we get to next Friday? Because we don't
Right.
want to be
Right.
thinking about that on Thursday, right?
No.
You know, we
No.
have to make all
That,
those puzzle pieces. And especially now that I work with two other people, you know, they're looking to me to tell them every day, like, what's on deck? What are we going to be working on today or this week? And they're not 100% independent yet to for me to just be able
okay.
to set something up in the workroom and say, okay, I gotta go, you know, you guys take care of this. So having that kind of planning ahead really really helps in all of that.
Okay.
And I think that that's what my clients want. I I want to under promise and over deliver, right?
Absolutely. And I think, listen, I think all of us have had our, midnight to 2
Yeah,
a.m. sessions where, and it'll happen again. Uh, we plan, God laughs, all of the above. But I think that it's that, as you said, that confidence that you have the data and the experience that lets you know that, yes, this might take 12 hours, but with the rest of what goes on in your business, 12 hours means a week because only
right.
so many hours each day it can be worked on. And I think that is not, I don't think that comes naturally to
Mm,
everyone. And I think even people who have done, time study after time study can't always put that together with, oh, okay, it's going to take me, 19 hours to reupholster this couch. Okay, that is not 19 continuous
right,
hours. And that is assuming that as you're doing the teardown, you're not discovering some, you know, flaw in the surface of it. So, something
right.
is going to go wrong. Yeah. And I'm always curious about this for upholsterers too. A workroom who I'm friends with, who is a smaller, not small, but smaller commercial workroom, has a deadline of a week to 2 weeks before delivery. Her things are done, and
Mhm.
she's storing smaller things than you are. But do you have a time, like you said, if you're delivering it next Friday, do you have a time set that it's done, like a backup to a date?
Usually Friday
Okay.
morning.
The secret's out.
But we will
Well,
be done.
but here's the thing: if you don't have storage room, it can't be done the
Right,
Friday
right.
before.
And that's
Yeah.
another reason where for us scheduling is so important because
Okay.
we have to plan our rotations. And so if we're
Okay.
working around town, you know, we do a lot of high-end residential during the pandemic when when the world shut down, but hospitality, especially, I
Yeah.
mean, there was a week there that I thought, that's it, we're done, you know.
Yeah.
Um, but within a week, people realized they were going to be at home, and we just had to pivot and start doing residential upholstery, which, you know,
Mhm.
we're learning to love. You know,
Okay.
it was
Okay. I like
it
how you
was
said
not
that.
the
You're
thing
learning
that
to love.
it's a different animal. There's a lot more hand holding, and it's just like going back to clothing, it's much more emotional. Knowing that it's going to
Okay.
be in someone's home is much more
Right.
emotional for me. you know.
Not for a 3-day vacation stay.
Right, right, right.
Yeah.
And not to say that we don't do excellent work, no matter where the piece is going to end up, but knowing that it's going to be under constant personal scrutiny, you know,
Right.
makes a
Right.
difference. It really does. So, 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 doing that kind of work, that personal work is very different from that. But we were talking about scheduling, and we know we can only have so many pieces in the workroom at once before we're all just kind
Right.
of bumping into each other. And
Right.
so we try to coordinate drop off and pick up loops on the same day. We'll
Mhm.
load things into the van in the order that they're going to come off the van, and then be picking things up as we're going on. And
Okay.
that helps us in the workroom space. It helps us with keeping everything just kind of moving, and it helps me with my projected billings, because I know,
Okay.
like, I have a goal of what we need to earn every month, and
Mm.
that tells me, if somebody were to call and say, hey, I've got a little something, it's like I can say, no, yeah, we need that, because that'll bump us up over that number that I need. Or I've got some space, because all we've got right now are pillows, which are a really long game. And we
Mm.
can do some quick turnaround stuff in the middle of all of that. So for
Okay.
me, scheduling and my calendar are really important to knowing how much we can get done and how much space can we take up in the workroom. And when should I order
Okay.
those pillow forms? Because
Right. Right. So that I don't have boxes and boxes and boxes that I'm walking around. Right. The sponsors of the So Much More podcast allow me to bring guests to you each week. And without them, I couldn't do it. I'm pleased, as the owner of the Curtains and Soft Furnishings Resource Library, that I can use the library to help sponsor the podcast as well. The library hosts the industry's largest curated collection of educational resources for the custom home furnishings professional. Membership to the library gives you access to a wealth of downloadable reference materials, videos, live events, as well as a community of support to help you develop your design, sales, and fabrication skills, and to grow or start a business. Join the library today at csfrl.org. The Workroom Channel is the premier online training provider for professional fabrication skills. Go to theworkroomchannel.com to browse the selection of anytime access courses created by industry experts. Watch detailed demonstration videos, download companion materials, and participate in private course discussion boards with your instructor and classmates from around the world. Start your course path today at theworkroomchannel.com. Education, networking, visibility, and industry discounts are just a few of the benefits that are offered to members of the Window Covering Association of America. The WCAA is the only national nonprofit trade association that's dedicated to the window coverings industry and the dealers, decorators, workrooms, designers, and installers that make up our membership. The library is a gold level sponsor of the WCAA. Join today at WCAA.org. WCAA, where you are never in business alone. Discover Klimaka Studios, where innovation meets exceptional design. Klimaka fabric and wallpaper collections are inspired by the original works of collaborating artists and developed with the understanding of how fabrics are manipulated into exquisite soft home furnishings. Workroom businesses enjoy exclusive access to engineered designs and best trade pricing. From clever layouts to classic linen prints, Klimaka Studios delivers the quality and consistency that your business demands. And Klimaka's reliable, on-time delivery keeps your projects running smoothly. Go to klimakastudios.com for swatches and trade account information. Klimaka Studios, for the joy and profit of workrooms. Marta, have you ever considered quitting?
Yeah, of course, of course. But those are always moments of frustration or
Mm-hmm.
overwhelm and thinking the times when I think of quitting are the times when I'm afraid that that this is too hard for my family. You
Okay.
know,
That makes
yeah,
sense. Yeah.
that if it were just me, fine. If I have to eat beans and rice for a week or so, but if I'm in like this year has been challenging with the economy, and I'm
Hmm.
responsible for two people's salaries now,
Right.
and so that means that I'm the one that's not getting paid because I'm the business owner. And that's when I start to feel like maybe this isn't the right thing to be doing after all,
Mhm.
and love my husband. He's so supportive and he's so great. And he reminds me that it's not, in this case anyway, it's not just a business. We make our decisions to run the business as best we can, but we also have our personal goals and our personal rules of, you know, we want to be in business so that we can run a business that we would want to work for.
Right. Right.
Because otherwise I could do this and I could go work for somebody else and I could do the same things. Right. It's great that I can give so many other people a place of security. We don't
Mhm.
work long hours. We work maybe a 7 hour day. We stop and we have lunch
Mhm.
together every day as a we happen to be related to each other now, but when we had other
Right.
employees, we just it's a family table and we all have lunch together, and that's the place if we could be working in Italy, that's what we would be doing, and we can't, so we're going to pretend we are.
Okay.
So it's great that we know that we can provide a safe and secure salary for everybody, and if somebody needs to take a day off or they want to go golfing or you know it's just it makes it better to know that it's not just the stress of the business. It's not just whether or not we're hitting the numbers that I've arbitrarily decided this is how much I don't have any control over how much we're going to earn, right? Because I'm not going out
Right.
there and selling any product. I'm waiting for people to come to us, and
Mm.
you know, I just have to be available when that phone call comes. You know, it's
Okay.
not very often that I have to go looking for work or reminding people that we're here. We've
Right.
had to do that more this year than others, but
But you've already established those
yeah.
relationships, and that's part of why.
Yeah.
Okay. What is your definition of success?
Um, I think I'm there. I think I think we have we're satisfied and we have
Hmm.
enough, and it feels really good to be able to be creative and not stressed out about it too often. Of course, it is stressful
Right.
often, but it's not about money, and it's not for me anyway. For us, it it's more about being able to do what we want with some integrity and some grace, and to
Hmm.
be able to be kind to each other and whoever comes across our path. I mean, to me, that's what I think. Often I
Okay.
think, if I can't remember who suggested this, but it's like if you could create a board of directors for yourself, right? Who would those
Hmm.
people be? If you could put together a group of 5 or 6 people that would be your confidants and your directors, and they would tell you what they thought you should be doing. If you thought about who those people would be that you would be willing to take their advice, they're probably pretty kind. You know, you're
Right.
you're probably
Right.
not going for Mark Cuban or although he
Right.
seems kind too.
Yeah, actually, he does, all things considered, but probably not Mr. Wonderful.
Right.
He's probably not
It
the
wouldn't,
one.
it's probably not going to be somebody who says, "Oh, you're really paying those people too much. You could probably find somebody that would do that for $12 an hour. You're paying your
Right,
brothers too much." It's
right.
like I want everybody to be comfortable and happy to come to work and just have a nice, safe place, really.
I like that. I think we're there. I think we're there. I like that,
I mean,
Marta.
aren't we?
Sounds like it. So I'm curious, especially you said that your brothers are not quite in a place where you can just hand them a
Mhm.
project and leave for the day. I'm always intrigued when people have employees and especially curious since it's your brothers and not people you hired and didn't know prior to this. What happens when there's a mistake made? Whether they've made it or you've made it. How do you handle that in your business?
Um, Mistakes happen. It, they are expensive. It's not worth getting. I mean, what if I were to get angry about it? What's that going to do for anybody? I
Right.
feel like it's difficult. In some ways, I feel like I'm more patient with them than I might be with strangers.
Okay.
It's kind of like the difference between dating and marriage, right? It's
Gotcha.
like, okay, there's no back door anymore.
Right.
I can't just say, you know what, I'm thought about it and I'm done. This isn't working out for us. It's always going to work out.
Yeah.
Um, but so there is that. One of the things I I don't coddle them, but they are very nervous and they are very
Okay.
afraid of making mistakes, right? And
Okay.
they've made some terrible mistakes. They've made some very expensive mistakes. They upholstered a beautiful, beautiful armchair in this luscious Schumacher velvet. It was gorgeous. They had done a beautiful job. I don't know why I wasn't in the workroom with them, and came in and I told them that they were great and they had done a wonderful job, but they had put the velvet on upside down. And
Oh,
I
Marta.
hated to have to tell them that, because I
Hmm.
hate seeing that look of disappointment on their face. Like,
Yes.
and I almost never tell them how expensive a fabric might be that they're working on because
They might never make anything again if they knew.
right. I mean, it doesn't help. I mean, you and I know that. It's like at some point you
Yeah.
just got to get over it and pick up the tools and
Yeah.
get the work done. And it's
Yeah.
like we just did a job for an apartment building on Fifth Avenue. And I thought it was a waste of fabric. I thought it was a ridiculous, terrible waste of fabric. We were using a Scalamandre large print velvet for 18-inch pillows. And it was just such a waste, you know?
Yeah. There had to be a lot of waste
Yeah.
in that. Yep.
But I couldn't tell them.
Yeah. No, I'm with you on
It's
that.
like if
Yeah.
I tell them that this is fabric that's $700-800 a yard, they're just going to fall apart and we're not going to be able to get the job done. So just
If they're nervous, they can't know those
right.
things.
And one thing
Yeah.
I always tell them is that they have the advantage of I've already made all of the mistakes.
Okay.
Right. And so for that reason, I'm far more forgiving when they make the same mistake, but I can also often head them off at the pass. And so, and
Okay.
when they make a mistake, that means that's a reflection on my training because I'm the only
Okay.
person that has trained them. Right.
Okay.
And so if they make a mistake, that's like the velvet going the wrong way,
Mhm.
you know, and I know that they debated it endlessly and they came to this decision. This is how it should be. They didn't just
Okay.
willy-nilly slap it on there, you know.
Right. Right.
Um, so encouraging them to ask questions. That's hard
Okay.
that they don't seem they're getting better, but you want to be competent. And I say huge kudos to them to be coming to a completely foreign thing late in life,
Right.
right?
Right.
We all want to feel competent. We all want to feel like we know what we're doing. And
Yes.
I think it's incredibly brave of them or anybody to take something on that is new. It's
Yeah.
really like, and they're great because they're really accomplished carpenters. They're really great mechanics. They've redone their own homes. They have their own careers, everything.
Mm.
But they're willing to try and learn these new skills, right? Because they want to
Okay.
get away from the places where they've been working, or maybe they want to get off their feet, or maybe
Right.
whatever. So Matt is coming up learning how to sew. He really
Hmm.
enjoys that. And Max really loves the upholstery side of things. I mean, he's in just a couple of years, he's really amazing. And he's been able to take a couple of the class. He took Cynthia Blaskachik. He went to her last full week of classes that she was offering in Minnesota. And then he's been able to go to one of Louise's upholstery education master's courses. So
Okay.
he's doing the work. He's getting there,
Okay.
and he's younger than I am. So he's going to be at it for a while.
Okay, good.
He's worth the investment.
I'm glad for you. So we did talk about books a little bit. Can you share some books that have you would recommend that made an impact on you?
I have two books, and I feel like I am a member of a cult because I insist that everybody should read these books. But for me, they hit me at exactly the right time. And I really credit both of these books as being a significant change in how I run my business and how I run my life. And the
Okay.
first one is Profit First by Mike McCown.
I had a feeling you were going to say
Yeah,
that one.
because and I wish I had had it when I was running that small architecture firm, because that really could
Mhm.
have helped them a lot.
Okay.
Any small business should have that. And it gives us a system of control, of knowing where our
Mhm.
money is, and a better way of being able to see it as it's coming in and as it's going out. It gives
Right.
us an assurance that things are being taken care of proactively, that you're taking care of
Mhm.
your taxes, you're taking care of your sales tax and your business expenses and your employees.
Right.
And it was by using that system for 1 year that when this property came available, I knew that I had that money. I had I had
Amazing.
already set it aside, and it was in the profit account. And that never would have happened if I hadn't read
Right.
that book. It
Okay.
all would have still been sitting in one account, and I wouldn't have known how much of that account is supposed to be for salary or for paying for pillows or shipping that's going to be 6 weeks from
Right.
now. I knew exactly how much I had and what I could spend.
Okay.
And and I've reread that book 3 times, and I've listened to it on audio, and I learned
Yeah.
something new from it every time, because each each time you're ready to absorb a new part of that lesson, to just kind of
Okay.
say, oh, that's what that meant, when he said that.
Okay.
So that book was really instrumental in taking in growing this business, in turning it
Okay.
from a little cottage side hustle into, this is how we're going to make it a real business. Real,
Okay.
air quotes. The other one is by Jen Sincero, and many people have read this book. It's called You Are a Badass. Ultimately, the message of that book, and I really think it just, if I read it today, I'd probably roll my eyes and be like, yeah, whatever. But but at the time that I read that book, I really needed to hear that message. I needed to hear the message that the universe actually loves me and wants me to be
Mhm.
able to succeed. And and that it's okay to want to have a successful business, that's okay. You're allowed to
Yeah.
say, I want to have security in my life, and money
Hmm.
is part of that. And I'm not going to be
Right.
afraid to ask for it. And I am
Hmm.
worthy of that. And my skills and my product deserve that. And I
Right.
really, something about how she wrote that book with a really great dose of humor and humility and
Yeah.
just really, I mean, I can remember sitting in an airport reading it and just tears streaming down my face, and having grown up as the fifth of six children, and it just like there was never a permission in my life to think
Right.
about, what do you want, you know
And I think that's especially true of women
yeah,
too, Marta. I remember I read that book as well, and I'm one of nine,
yeah,
and you got what you got, and you didn't complain. And thinking about like, well, what was my favorite color? What would I
right,
choose if I had like complete choice of everything? And what do I want for myself? And I think I remember when it came out, there was some conversation about like you said, maybe if I read it today, I might roll my eyes over some of it. But there was a confidence to her that I didn't see in a lot of women. And if there was a man saying some of the same things, everybody would have been like, well, yeah.
yeah,
But that isn't how most women see themselves. Except when I see a really confident woman, I think, yep, yep, she's got that.
yeah,
And I agree. There were some life-changing things in that book for me as
yeah.
well.
I think it's just the idea of permission. I needed
Yes.
somebody to say, it's okay. You're allowed to have
Yes.
that or to want that. And no one in my
Yes.
family is ever going to say that, and
Hmm.
no fault of theirs, right? It's just, again, no one's
Well,
given them permission to do that. It's
right.
just, it's a issue of our culture and how we're raised in our families and all those different things. And and at the same time, it doesn't have to be an aggressive or assertive or a gosh darn
Right.
it, this is mine and I'm going to take it. You,
Right. Right. Well, even
it's just
just your
like it's okay to just say, yeah, I that sounds good to me. And
yeah.
it is okay for men to maybe take that for granted. We should
Right.
all be able to take that for
Right.
granted. And I just wish we
Agreed.
all had that sense of grace and love and humility and charity too, to give it to other
Mhm.
people and to accept it for ourselves, you know?
Yeah. I think part of her message too was always like, for me especially, it was just like you said, it wasn't aggressive, but it was, yeah, I'm entitled to this. I can want
Yeah,
this. And being willing to go after something that I felt strongly about. And that was
yeah,
okay. Yeah. And it bothers me that some of us still need permission. But if we've been raised in circumstances where that just hasn't been the story, then it is nice to hear. But it also kind of goes hand in hand with no one's coming to save you.
yeah,
So if you don't do it, then it's not going to happen.
yeah. For
Yeah.
me, especially at that point in my life, um, I was, coming out of a divorce from my daughter's father, and that was just very humbling,
Mhm.
really humbling. I don't have any other words for that, but but to just be told to have somebody else say it's okay. You can want things. I had never
You're
before
allowed.
been allowed, and I don't like to say allowed, but no, no, I don't know what other word there is for it. It
Yeah.
wasn't an
Yeah.
option to say, what do you want? Because you're not going to get it.
Right.
It's not
Right.
available to you,
Right.
you know?
That's what it
Yeah.
is. The option wasn't there because that outcome was not going to happen.
Right. So why bother?
Yeah.
So I think that that's part of it is not only the cultural forces around us that may or may not say that you can't have that, but also we do it to ourselves by kind of minimizing ourselves by saying, well, it's not in the cards, so I'm not going to make myself hurt by wanting something that is going to be hard to come by. So I'm going to,
Right. Or impossible to come
right.
by.
So I'm going to put that in a shoebox and put it up on the shelf, and I'm just not even going to consider what might I want,
Right.
because that's harder than just saying it's okay if I don't think about it.
Right.
It hurts to
Right.
think about it.
Yes.
So that, I think, was a big part of that permission that she gave me.
Okay.
Someday I'll write her a note. I'm
Again.
sure she's gotten a million notes.
Yeah, but I'm sure she wouldn't hate another one.
No, she wouldn't. She wouldn't. She's very great. And both of those books, I've bought probably 10 copies of each of those books, and I hand them out like candy at Halloween to everybody that I'm like, I think you could use something from this right now. So.
Okay. I've given out Profit First. I have a nephew and a great nephew who started businesses, and I gave them Profit First for the exact same reason that you mentioned. Marta, do you use much technology in your business?
Yeah, I do.
Okay. What do you
I don't
use?
know how I would be able to do this. Well, of course I could, but having the cloud is makes everything so much easier. To know that I can have all of my files and photographs and contracts and purchase orders and everything in one place. I guess if we were in a office building, all of that would be on a server somewhere, but being on the road or in somebody's house, or being able to pull all of that information from any different place, right? And know that I can get it from my phone or my laptop or my desktop, and they're all connected and connected to my, thank you, Google, for putting all of this together for me. But it's one thing to have those things, and it's another thing to be able to use them and working in the architecture firm. That firm is over 100 years old. And so they have to have a very well organized filing system, because they cross centuries, literally. And
wow.
Right. I mean, think about it. They started in the 19th century and now they're in the 21st century. And so we all had to learn the same filing system for, everything to do with, whether that's quotes and bids or drawings or receipts. Everything had to be filed in a certain way so that people could find it. And so I'm really lucky to be able to deploy that same kind of filing system in what I do, and it makes things really, really easy for me to be able to do that and my banking and accounting apps. Yeah.
Huge difference when you can do that all digitally. And what 3 business items could you not live without?
I wrote these down because I knew you would ask me. I know. 3 business items. My calendar and QuickBooks for my accounting stuff, and my email. I mean, are those really business items? What could I not run my business without? It would be those things.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. And I'm always
like I could even still upholster, with a hammer and a needle, but without these other things, it's like I wouldn't be able to get the job and build the job and take care of the money and schedule it
and build the job and all of it. Yeah. Yes. Marta, what is your favorite thing to make?
I just like to make things with my hands. Anything. Everybody, but my favorite challenge is something that is a meaty planning project, whether that's pattern matching or a big project management, like redoing a restaurant downtown. How are we logistically going to, pull
Right.
this off? How are we going to pick these things up, get them in and out? I really love that part of the planning process. It's really
Hmm.
exciting to me. Um,
Okay.
and everybody I know in my family and all of my friends, it's just really great to like have a map of the city and have pins in it, and my stuff is everywhere. I mean, well, it's like
Wow.
I started the dress shop. That was 35 years ago, and
Hmm.
when I think about all the places that we've been and all the places that our stuff is and all the people that we've been able to touch, to me it's pretty cool because I never really leave the room, right?
Right.
I stay in
But
one
your
place,
stuff
but it's
does.
really cool to be driving downtown and go, oh yeah, we've got stuff in that building. And, we've done stuff for the state capitol. We've done stuff. One of the most exciting jobs we did was the Virgin Lounge at Dulles Airport.
Oh,
Wait,
wow.
it gets cool because we got to drive across the tarmac of the airport.
Oh, man.
And as a kid growing up in Northern Virginia outside of DC, my dad was in the Air Force, and that airport designed by Saarinen, just like this amazing design achievement, was being built
Uh-huh.
when I was a kid, and my dad used to drive us there on weekends to just like watch the construction. And
Oh,
so
wow.
it's really come full circle to be able to do something as crazy as driving under planes on a tarmac to get to the terminal that has the furniture in it.
And to do your
Yeah,
installation. Oh, wow. That is so
those are
cool.
things that I never knew could happen,
Yeah.
right?
Right. Right. So on a down note, what do you not do so well?
Oh, I really do not enjoy group Zoom calls. I don't. That and social media. I just they really, like, one-on-one is great, right? But when there's multiple people, my I can just feel my anxiety level creeping up. I feel
Okay.
and social media just makes me feel like it makes me feel bad about myself, makes me feel like I should be doing more, makes me feel like I'm out of the loop.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know if that's a generational thing or what, but it does not make me feel good. And maybe
Okay.
part of that is I've I don't I don't feel like I have a voice that anyone wants to hear.
Gotcha.
And again, that goes back to the whole am I worthy thing, right?
Yes. Yes.
Like, so those are two things that I don't do them well because I feel like they make me really uncomfortable. It's hard for me to
Okay.
read other people's intent or tone.
Right.
I tend to,
You're right. And I hadn't thought about that on the Zoom meetings. And I've been on many where there have been multiple people. And you're right. You cannot see what their face when they have something to say. And I've struggled, geez, from the time email started, like there's no tone of voice.
right.
And I can remember one time my husband reading me an email from a superior, and he read it like in a tone of voice with complete annoyance. And I said, how about if he meant it like this? And I restated it in a completely different tone of voice. And he went,
Huh.
oh.
Yeah.
And so I understand what you're saying. And if I can't see someone's face while they're talking, you can make inferences that don't apply because you're not watching them. And yeah, social media is, I'm working on it, but boy, is it a struggle.
Yeah.
And you're right, it's that not enough. My older daughter has gotten off of Instagram for exactly that
Yeah.
reason, and that feeling of, oh, I didn't get to do that. Oh,
Right. But it's funny because I guess it's because it's so curated, right?
yeah, oh,
Like, no
absolutely.
one's going to show you their the normal parts of their day. They're going to,
Right.
so
Right.
that just means you feel like their entire day was that way.
Yeah.
But also, the best parts of social media are 20 years ago, we would have had magazines and we would have been paging
Yeah.
through those magazines and we would have been looking at those same photographs and we would have said, oh my
Right.
God, that's a beautiful room. I want to read this article. I want to know more about that. So I've been thinking a lot about like, why, why is one like magazines inspired me to say, but I think it's a temporal thing. I think it's because I don't get to study and really dig in on the Instagram photographs to say what's going on here,
Right.
what's better about this for me, how can I apply this in my own life. It just kind of creates this green monster inside of me that makes me not
Right.
feel good about myself instead of giving me
But
something to aspire to.
Marta, don't you also think that if you go to, I'll pick Barnes and Noble or an independent bookstore because I always prefer to buy there, and you go to their magazine section and you buy maybe two magazines,
Uh-huh.
and like you said, you take the time, you look through them. You're not inundated with 70
Right.
pictures. You're looking at one article or one, expose on something. When we're on social media and the algorithm knows what we look at, and if you're following 75 other upholsterers and you're seeing what they're
Yep.
doing, again, there's no meat to it, there's no explanation, and we're flipping past things and going, wow, that's good, wow, that's good, wow, I never had a wow, I
Right.
never got to, like, that can't be good for
Right.
us.
Or all of the
And you're right,
events
it is no.
and webinars
Yeah,
and opportunities. And it's like, I
yeah,
can't do it all, so
right,
it's just
right.
being
Nor should we,
right.
but it feels like we should
Yeah. Or
sometimes.
I want to,
Yeah,
but I can't,
yeah.
you know.
Also have to run my business.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
There's that.
What about you would surprise people?
I am a functional introvert. I would
That
always rather be
surprises me,
alone.
Marta, and I've interacted with you.
I love talking to people. I think all that's great and everything. But I know that the thing that refills my well isn't is the thing that refills my well and calms me and soothes me and makes me feel confident about what I'm doing and enjoy my world and enjoy my life is to be alone in my workroom and creating something. And
Okay.
I usually don't listen to music. I just need it's just I feel like what we do anyway is sensory overload. I need to just
Right, right.
be quiet in my head. And that is what really refills my head and my heart and my energy. And if I don't take
Okay.
the time to do that once a week, pretty proactively, then I feel like the wheels start falling off my bus. I feel like
Okay.
I've gotten a lot better at not becoming distressed by it,
Hmm.
um, a little less sensitive, perhaps, because now I
Got
work
it.
with people that even when I worked in firms and corporate offices, I could be alone. I could be in my
Got
cubicle with my headphones on and do my work, and that was okay. But here,
it.
I've
Mhm.
got other people in the room with me that I always have to be aware of and what are they doing.
Right.
That's kind of draining for me. Um,
Okay.
and that's my definition of being an introvert versus an extrovert is where do you
Okay.
get your energy? What,
Right. And I agree with
yeah.
you. Yeah. What traits do you think are important to an entrepreneur?
Resiliency, just being able to pivot and not be defeated and being kind to yourself,
Yeah.
and just mistakes are going to happen. And the only real mistake is if you don't take a beat and learn from that, you know,
Right.
and prevent that from happening again or say, what just happened?
Right.
And to recognize that there's more than one way to get where you're going. There's more than one road to get to the theater. You're still going to end up at
Hmm.
the same place. And so
Right.
if you're ready to take that journey and to be resilient and reflective and being able to make adjustments along the way, I really think that that's going to be, and to ask for help, you know.
Right.
I think a lot of us think, oh, I read a book or I can do this, but that's why your circle time and your library resources are so amazing, because we all work alone. Almost all of us work
Right.
alone,
Right.
and that and the Pun Network, to have a group
Oh
of
my
people
gosh.
that you can say,
Yes.
hey, I've never seen this before, and to know that you're going to be met with a kind response, a supportive response,
Yes.
means the world to everything and everybody.
I also think, Martha, to your point, knowing yourself well enough that, like you said, if I don't get a chance to do some creative work, if I don't get some chance to have quiet, that's what fills me up. And I think when you're resilient, you recognize those things and build that into what you need to do. Or, like you said, pivot. Okay, I've just been focusing on the business end of things, and I need to take a step back and do the things that fill me up and take me away from, even though you love spreadsheets and
Yeah.
things like that, you still need to step away from it sometimes.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Where do you see yourself in 5 years?
I hope we're still doing what we're doing now. I feel like now that we've invented this wheel, we're we're going to be fine tuning it and really just
Okay.
kind of making it smoother and easier and better.
Okay.
Yeah,
I
I
like
like
that.
that.
That's a good answer.
I don't see myself ever not making things,
Okay.
and at some point my house can't hold anymore. We've already got all of our furniture and our quilts and you know
Gotcha. So we mentioned social media. Are you on Facebook and Instagram? Do you have a website? How would people find
I
you?
don't have a website. I
Okay.
and part of that is because when I first started the business, fortunately, Richmond is the capital of the state and it's the smallest town I've ever lived in.
Okay.
And everybody here is 2 degrees of separation.
Okay.
And that is really good for business, and it can also be terrible, right?
Oh, right. There is a downside to that. You're right.
Because it doesn't take much to so early on in the business, before I started doing the procurement company things, my rule of thumb was that I was not going to advertise or put myself out there, because I found that I was ending up spending a lot of time doing site visits and quotes for things that were never going to turn into anything.
Okay.
And I felt that if I turned it into word of mouth only and referrals, so basically a person would have to get a referral,
Okay.
and I could, if someone contacted me, I could say, that's great, who gave you my name, right?
Okay.
That would create just enough social tension that meant the client was going to behave, right?
Okay.
Because it
Right. Right.
because we have someone in common and we are going to treat
Right.
each other with kindness and respect. Because if you're a nightmare of a client, then whoever recommended you to me is going to hear about that. And that seemed
Yes.
to really, really work well for me for the
Okay.
first, 10 years or whatever. Um, so I do have an Instagram account. I stopped posting on it during the pandemic. And so I use it to lurk and watch everybody else. But people are welcome to
Okay.
use it and mention and contact me through that. And that's really simple. It's just Marta Powell RVA is my
Okay.
Instagram handle. I am on Facebook. I don't use it very often. I never post anything out there myself. I use it
All
for
right.
things.
I'll just put your Instagram account in case people want to
Yeah.
reach out to
Yeah.
you. Yeah.
And I should have a website, but I go around and around and around about what would, and I pay for a website, but I just never launch it. Because I'm not convinced I need it. I'm not convinced.
Okay.
Why would I do that? It's not
Right.
as if anyone's out there searching for a weird little upholstery business. It's not like I'm going to put myself out on it. It kind of goes against my initial, you got to know somebody to get in the door, right?
Right.
And weirdly, people don't ask. Marriott doesn't ask what is my website. No one
Right.
looks for that for confirmation of, are you a real business?
No, they're looking for proof that you have all the insurance you
Yeah.
need and that and as you said, like you've established relationships with their procurement manager. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
I,
that's so interesting, Marta.
I haven't found it to be necessary, and I haven't become convinced that it would be a good thing.
Okay,
So
fair
I
enough.
guess
So, my final question to you then is what advice would you give to someone who's new in the business or someone who has been in business for a while?
the first one is know your numbers. And by that, I mean, what do you need? What do you need to earn? And how are you going to get there? What are your projected billings? If you can map that out, then you have a plan. And
Okay.
those two things are going to drive your self-knowledge of what you can commit to, what your capacity is, and it's going to help you to plan for life outside of work. Because otherwise, it's all work, because you're never sure when you're not going to
Mm.
need to be doing more. A lot of it comes from that fear of scarcity, right? We feel like we
Right,
have to
right,
take every job because we're afraid there isn't another job behind it.
right after
Right.
that, right.
Um, the second thing is uh, you should consider working with designers.
I am a fan of
You've
that,
heard
so you do
me
not
say
have to
this
twist my
many
arm
times
on that.
before, but we have the opportunity to educate them what we can
Mhm.
do for them, what we can do with our skills and with our tools and with our knowledge. They don't
Right.
get taught those things in their own training. And we need them because they are our connection to this huge luxury industry, right?
Yes.
Like that, it's kind of like that scene in The Devil Wears Prada, right? Where she talks about, you bought this in a bargain basement, but it started,
Yeah.
out in
Yes.
Milan on the catwalk 5
Right.
years ago, right? And designers are the people that are bringing those two worlds together for us.
Mhm.
And if if they have access to more clients than we do, right?
Right.
And if we can give them the best tools possible, then they can sell to those clients, and then we can
Right.
make whatever they need for those clients. And they're far more creative than we are, right? So they're going to be
And certainly than I am.
right. So
I
they're
will
going
own
to
that
be
fact.
pushing us to grow
Yeah.
and to learn new things and to help them figure out how to make something, and just all of those different things. It's like Michelle's the one that said we all work in a luxury industry.
Yes.
We are working for
Yes.
people with disposable income almost
Yes.
exclusively. And so
Hmm.
how do we get access to those people, right?
Right.
We in
And
our
designers
workrooms,
and architecture firms are a great way to do
right?
that.
Are we in our workrooms going to put on our lipstick and our nice clothes and, sell to somebody? We do that when we leave the workroom, but there are people that are out there advocating for us that
Right.
need us, and we need to educate them on what we can do for them. And if I can have a relationship with a designer, they're going to bring me 12 sofas in a year. And if I have a
Right.
really great relationship with an individual client, I might get 2 sofas in their lifetime,
Right.
and their word of mouth referral to their friends. But really developing those relationships with designers is what has really, really helped for me. I was really afraid during the pandemic because a lot of people got laid off. A lot of people had to change jobs, all those different things. But what happened was all those people, it was kind of like a dandelion. They reseeded everywhere and they took
Right.
me with them. And so all of these new firms now where they have new people are using us now. And, so I feel like, not that it's not worth developing relationships with individuals. I just feel like, and it may not be designers, but find what that linchpin person is that has access to the bigger parts of the web. We can't learn all the different parts of the web. We just need to find somebody that's closer to the center, and build those resources and relationships.
I
Even
love
if
that.
you're an introvert.
I think you've done really well with that.
Make yourself it all boils down to that. Make yourself uncomfortable.
Yeah. Marta, I can't thank you enough. It was such a pleasure to meet you at the Custom Workroom Conference and then talk with you and Justin and Mandy about upholstery education. And if anyone listening has not heard that podcast, I'll put a link to it. We really didn't touch on that today because I really wanted to know more about your journey and how you got to the point where educating others about how to create upholstery was really important. And I wanted people to be able to hear that story. And I'm really grateful for your time today.
Thank you. I feel like we could just keep talking for hours. That would be really great.
I was thinking that too. And I appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. This was just really fun.
I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from Marta. It was such a different experience to talk with her about her business and her journey after meeting her and talking more about upholstery education and that business that she has with Mandy and Justin. And I just, in that conversation and in getting that podcast together, I realized that both Mandy and Marta were two people I really wanted to know more about. So look forward to hearing from Mandy as well. I really am intrigued by the idea that Marta has grown so much of her business around the commercial and hospitality part of our industry. And it was just really fascinating to hear her talk about that. I really hope that you enjoyed hearing from Marta today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you have a great day.